Somewhere inside a design studio that almost nobody outside Toyota has ever been allowed into, there's a small, boxy vehicle that isn't supposed to exist yet. And the handful of people who've actually stood next to it in person are being unusually careful about what they say publicly. Not because it's fast, not because it's expensive, but because it might be the smallest vehicle Toyota has ever built a working shower, a working kitchen, and a queen-size bed into, and still call it a genuine 4x4. This is the Toyota KOVA Mini Traveler Camper 4x4, and by the time this video ends, you'll understand why a few engineers close to the program are reportedly calling it the project nobody inside the company wants to discuss on the record. Because for the first time, a compact Toyota camper is being built around one single idea: real freedom, packaged small enough to fit in one ordinary parking space. Before we get into it, if compact 4x4 campers are your thing, drop a comment before we start. It genuinely helps this reach the people who'd actually want to own one. Start at the front, and the first thing that stands out is how upright everything is. No sweeping hood, no aerodynamic taper, just a flat, near vertical face with a slim LED light bar sitting above a mesh-style skid guard, almost like Toyota took the nose of a delivery van and gave it off-road intentions. 33-inch all-terrain tires wrap around dark bronze wheels, and the ride height alone tells you something. There's a real, visible gap between tire and fender, the kind you only get on a vehicle actually meant to leave pavement behind, not one dressed up to look like it might. Move to the side profile and the proportions start making sense. Overall length lands around 18 feet 2 inches, short enough to fit across a standard residential driveway, long enough that engineers reportedly fought over every extra inch of underfloor storage they could claim. The panel gaps are tighter than you'd expect out of a low-volume build. Real seams, not the wavy plastic cladding you see bolted onto most van-based conversions. Rocker panels are wrapped in a matte protective coating that runs higher up the door than on a standard Toyota truck, a small detail that suggests somebody on this program has actually scraped a rock ledge in real life. Walk to the rear and you'll find the honest weak point of this whole design. A swing-out, spare tire and jerry can mount, hang low enough that on a steep departure angle, ground clearance back there becomes something you have to plan around, not something you can ignore. It's a small compromise, but on a vehicle built around off-road capability, it's the kind of detail that matters the first time you're backing down a rutted Forest Service road at dusk. Up front in the cabin, the dashboard skips the oversized touchscreen trend entirely. A compact digital cluster sits ahead of the driver, flanked by real, physical switches for the differential locks and low-range transfer case, the kind of controls you can operate wearing gloves without looking down. It's a driver's cabin built by people who assumed you'd actually be using these systems, not just looking at them in a showroom. But the exterior was never really the point. It's what Toyota did with those 18 feet 2 inches on the inside that's got people talking. And once you see how the layout actually works, you'll understand exactly why. Under that flat front panel sits a turbocharged 2.4-liter four-cylinder paired with a hybrid system, a combination Toyota has used elsewhere in its lineup, though people close to the program describe this particular tune as unique to the build. Combined output is being estimated at somewhere around 231 horsepower and 236 pound-feet of torque. Toyota hasn't confirmed a final figure, so treat that as a working number rather than a spec sheet fact. Estimated combined fuel economy sits near 26 miles per gallon, with a projected range close to 430 miles on a full tank once the hybrid assist is factored in. Numbers that would be unusually strong for anything wearing a full off-grid kitchen and bathroom. 0 to 60 was never really the point of a vehicle like this, though. What actually matters once the pavement ends is a 2-speed transfer case, front and rear locking differentials, and roughly 10.6 inches of ground clearance. 3 numbers that, together, suggest Toyota engineered this to actually leave the road, not just look like it could. Here's a number that's harder to verify, but worth mentioning anyway. Sourcing close to the program suggests that if this moves into production as currently planned, The first model year run could be capped at somewhere around 250 units total. Toyota hasn't confirmed that figure, and it could shift entirely before anything reaches a dealer lot. But if it holds, this becomes one of the rarest platforms the brand has ever put its badge on. The honest trade-off here is weight distribution. Packing a hybrid battery pack, a full water tank, and a kitchen block behind the cab pushes rear axle load higher than you'd expect for a vehicle this size, and early test mules are reportedly noticeably nose light whenever the fresh water tank runs empty. Something Toyota engineers are said to still be tuning the suspension around. None of that matters much once you actually step inside though, because the cabin is where this camper stops feeling like an engineering exercise and starts feeling like somewhere you genuinely want to spend a week. Step through the side door and the ceiling is higher than the exterior led you to expect. The pop top adds close to 2 feet of headroom directly above the dinette, enough that a 6-foot-tall adult can stand fully upright without ducking under the canvas seam. The layout runs galley style. A kitchen block along the left wall as you enter, a wet bath tucked behind a pocket door on the right, and a dinette at the rear that folds flat into a full sleeping platform. Looking at this, it feels less like stepping into a vehicle and more like stepping into a small cabin that just happens to have wheels bolted underneath it. The kind of space where for a second, you forget you're parked on gravel instead of somewhere permanent. Now here's the part most walkthroughs rush past too quickly. The bathroom is a real wet bath, a cassette toilet, a fold-down shower head, and a slatted teak floor insert that lifts out for drainage, packed into a footprint of roughly 22 square feet. It's tight, but it's genuine plumbing, not a curtain strung across a corner with a bucket underneath it. And the bedroom, once that dinette folds down flat, measures close to 6 feet 4 inches by 4 feet 2 inches, enough room for 2 adults, with just enough clearance under the pop-top canvas that neither of you ends up staring at fabric 6 inches above your face. Imagine pulling into a trailhead an hour before sunset, folding that dinette flat in under a minute, and being asleep on an actual mattress, not an air pad on a folded down seat, while everyone else at the campground is still setting up a tent in the dark. The kitchen block runs a 2-burner induction cooktop, a stainless prep surface that folds out for extra counter space, and a slide-out pantry drawer sized for a week of dry goods. Underneath almost the entire cabin floor, insulated exterior access bins run the full length of the vehicle, sized for folding chairs, recovery boards, and a portable fire pit, the kind of gear people actually pack when they're heading somewhere with no cell signal and no neighbors. Wait, there's one more detail in this cabin that changes how you'd actually live in it day to day, and it's easy to completely miss on a first walkthrough. That detail is the power system, and it might be the single most interesting engineering decision on the entire vehicle. Instead of running a separate house battery off a basic alternator setup, the KOVA reportedly draws off the same hybrid battery architecture used to move the vehicle, meaning the same pack that assists the engine. Climbing a steep grade also runs the fridge, the induction cooktop, and the cabin lighting overnight. Toyota hasn't published exact capacity numbers, but people who've seen early documentation describe a lithium pack somewhere in the 5 to 6 kilowatt-hour range, topped off by a 400-watt solar array bonded directly into the pop-top's fiberglass shell, not bolted awkwardly on top where it catches wind and low branches, but built directly into the structure itself. There's a 12-volt compressor for fridge that reportedly holds temperature for over 30 hours with the engine off, a diesel-fired cabin heater that runs completely independent of the main engine, and a 20-gallon fresh water tank paired with a 15-gallon gray water tank, both insulated against freezing, a detail that only matters to someone who actually camps somewhere cold enough for it to count. Who Toyota is quietly building this for. The insider detail worth knowing, because the house system shares the hybrid battery instead of running its own separate bank. A full day of ordinary driving is reportedly enough to top off the camping battery completely. No generator, no separate solar setup required, as long as you're covering real miles between stops. For someone who'd otherwise be nervous about running a fridge dry 3 days into a trip, that single design choice quietly removes the one worry that ends most first-time off-grid trips early. On the safety side, the KOVA is said to carry Toyota's current driver assist suite, adaptive cruise, lane tracing assist, and a blind spot system recalibrated for the wider camper body, plus a stability control mode specifically tuned for loaded off-road driving, something most van-based campers simply borrow unchanged from their base commercial platform. But there's one more system in this camper that Toyota engineers reportedly argued about for months before it made the final build sheet, and it has nothing to do with power at all. That system is the suspension, a set of adaptive dampers said to be tuned specifically around the added weight of a full water tank and 2 passengers, rather than simply borrowed from another product already sitting on the assembly line. It's a small thing on paper, but it's the kind of small thing that tends to separate a real engineering program from a badge stapled onto an existing van. As for price, nothing here is confirmed yet, and anyone giving you an exact number right now is guessing. Sourcing from people close to supplier conversations points to a rumored starting figure somewhere in the mid-$60,000 range, with a fully equipped build potentially pushing past $80,000 once you add the pop-top upgrade package and the extended solar option. Again, that's speculation built from supplier chatter, not a sticker Toyota has actually put on paper anywhere. So who is this actually built for? Not the family that needs 6 seats and a full cargo hold. This is for the couple who wants to disappear onto public land for a long weekend without renting a 30-foot box they'll never comfortably park anywhere useful. It's for the solo traveler who wants an actual bathroom and an actual bed without giving up the ability to drive down a rutted fire road that would strand anything bigger. It's for the retiree who finally has the time to go somewhere and doesn't want to spend the first hour of every stop backing a trailer into a spot. It's for the remote worker who can pull into a trailhead on a Tuesday afternoon and still have a signal, a working stove, and a hot shower by 6 that evening, if that's the kind of trip you're genuinely planning to take. Not the one you post about, the one you'd actually use. This appears to be the one Toyota built with exactly that person in mind. So tell me, is a rig this small, with a bathroom and a bed this real actually the better way to travel? Or does it just look that way until you've lived in it for a full week? Here's the reveal, and it's worth sitting with for a second. Everything you just walked through, the wet bath, the full-size sleeping platform, the hybrid battery doubling as a house power system, the solar array built into the roof shell, the locking differentials front and rear, all of it apparently lives inside a footprint you could parallel park on an ordinary city street. That's not a camper designed to be admired from a campground gate. That's a camper reportedly designed to actually get used on a random Tuesday by someone who doesn't own a truck, a trailer, and a place to store either one of them. So here's the verdict. If that rumored 250-unit first-year run turns out to be accurate, people close to the program are already suggesting fewer than 60 of those units will land in the United States before the next model year begins, which would make this one of the hardest Toyota vehicles to actually get your hands on, camper or otherwise. Confirmed? No. Plausible, based on how Toyota has handled other low-volume specialty builds in the past. Genuinely, yes. What Toyota may have quietly built here isn't just a small camper. It's a remarkable bet that people actually want less space and more real capability. Independence without the compromise of hauling something enormous just to get it. And if the early internal reactions are anything to go by, this could end up being the project that quietly resets what people expect a compact 4x4 camper to actually be able to do. If Toyota follows through on this the way early reports suggest, it won't just be a good camper. It'll be one of those vehicles that looked impossible on paper right up until the moment it was already parked at a trailhead near you. So, would a rig this small actually replace a full-size RV for you? Or is there a deal breaker buried in here that would send you looking somewhere else? Tell me in the comments, because I genuinely read every single one. And if you want to see how this holds up once real-world testing actually starts, subscribe, because the moment verified numbers leak, that's the video going up next, and you'll want to already be here for it.